court. About to testify on behalf of Maxwell Nathan is Herbie Giggles Morehouse, a co-worker of Mr. Nathan's.
I do.
All right, Miss Walker, let me hear from this witness.
To your knowledge, are Mr. Nathan and Miss McQueen having an affair?
No, I never saw any circumstance that could be construed as anything other than strictly professional. I know Max all my life. He was always devoted to Lizzie. Of course, he does like to give the newcomers a break.
What was your first indication that Lizzie and Oscar were more than just friends?
Well, one day Oscar asked me where he can buy a new mattress for his sofa bed. When I asked him why, he just winks. Well, I wondered who his new amour was till I caught Oscar and Lizzie in the makeup tent.
Was that the time you and Mr. Nathan found them together?
No, this was before that. They seemed to favour the makeup tent for their tryst. Now, I never told Max. I didn't want to be the one to have to tell him that his wife was a strumpet. Anyway, I went into the makeup tent for a new red nose bulb, and there was Oscar, wearing nothing but his tennis shoes, performing, well, what you might say was push-ups, only he was using Lizzie as his exercise mat.
Were you ever present when Lizzie and Oscar were using drugs?
It hurts me to say, but yes. Once backstage, I saw Oscar give Lizzie a couple of pills, and he said, "Take these, you'll be in great shape." She gulped them down like they was candy. To think that this woman I've admired all my life was a druggie.
No further questions.
Cross-examination.
Sir, weren't Mr. Spivak and Mrs. Nathan doing nothing more than working out?
What they was working out was their lust for each other.
Now, are you aware that Mrs. Nathan has a hay fever condition, as she testified in her pretrial deposition?
No, I wondered why she was always sneezing.
So you don't know that the pills that Mr. Spivak gave her were nothing more than hay fever pills, is that
Come on,
correct?
everybody knows he was giving her steroids.
Sir, have you ever seen a steroid pill?
Well, no.
Now, other than being your friend, Mr. Nathan is your employer, isn't he?
Yes, but my employment is based on my talent to amuse, not on my association with Max.
Yes, of course. No further questions.
All right, you may step down. Mr. Walker, is there anything further from the plaintiff?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Hawthorne, I'd like to hear your witnesses,
We
please.
call Elizabeth Nathan to the stand, Your Honor.
Step forward.
About to take the stand is Elizabeth Nathan, married to the plaintiff for 25 years. She's been charged by him with taking steroids and of having an affair with Oscar Spivak. Mrs. Nathan claims her husband has also physically abused her and is also having an affair.
I do.
All right, let me hear from Mrs. Nathan.
Mrs. Nathan, you and your husband had frequently discussed retirement, is that correct?
Yes, we agreed a couple years ago that we were going to retire. Max is wonderful at his work, and he could teach show business management or acrobatics for clowns. Oh, it would be wonderful. We could stay put, get a little house, have a steady income. But all that went out the window when Miss Airhead showed up.
Now, I assume you mean Yolanda McQueen?
Who else? The government could use her head as a wind tunnel. As soon as she came on with our company, she started sniffing around Max. "Oh, Maxie, show me how you did that trick." Or, "Oh, Maxie, teach me how to do that pratfall." And Max fell for it. And then from then on, he started treating me as if my face was kind of familiar, but somehow my name just escaped him.
Now, did you ever see Yolanda and your husband in a sexual situation?
Every time I walked into our dressing room, she was there with him. One time I walked in and she was at my dressing table with just a G-string and those pasties on. And Max had his lips glued to her thigh. And I told her, I said, being a showgirl doesn't mean that you got to show everything. And I told her to get out.
Now, did your husband offer any explanation for what you had just seen?
Yep. He said, "Oh, Yolanda just was bit by a spider and I was sucking the poison out."
Now, Mrs. Nathan, have you ever taken steroids?
No, never. You know, when I started getting older and losing my shape, I thought about it. But then Oscar told me about the bad side effects, and I never actually ever took them. But then Oscar started helping me get back in shape by running and lifting weights. And the only thing is that the stronger I got, the more jealous Max got. I guess it was just his guilty conscience backfiring on him.
And how did you know that your husband was jealous?
Max is about as subtle as a whoopee cushion. He says to me, "I know about you and Oscar, and I know what you're doing, and if you don't stop, I'm going to squash you like a bug." So about a week later, Oscar and I were jogging down the road, and here comes Max, driving this little miniature fire truck, you know, the one that we use in the Fireman Save My Child routine. And he starts yelling, "Down with drug addict tramps," and he tried to run me over.
Did you make any attempt to reconcile with your husband?
Yes. I decided that I'd do whatever Max wanted, so I went to tell him this. But then I found that he was rehearsing Yolanda for my part in the Cannon Act. We had a terrible fight, Your Honor. He said that since I was getting my kicks and laughs with Oscar, that Yolanda could tickle his fancy. I tried to tell Max there was no hanky-panky with Oscar. There never was. And then he moved in with Giggles, and before I knew it, he filed for divorce, and Miss Big Bombs was doing my act.
Thank you. No further questions, Your Honor.
Cross-examination.
Instead of trying to run you down, wasn't your husband just testing the new brakes in the fire truck when they failed?
That's a good excuse, but then how do you explain the homicidal shrieking? If Oscar hadn't saved me, I would be answering your questions through Rosa the medium and her crystal ball.
Didn't you tell your husband that you wanted to build up your body to find another man?
I wanted to get stronger to protect myself from him.
So, you started taking steroids, didn't you?
I already told you I never touched the stuff.
Didn't you go to a dermatologist who told you your skin was turning yellow from steroid use?
He said that it was because I was drinking so much carrot juice.
It was you in Oscar's trailer the night Max heard the lovemaking, wasn't it?
Oh, I went by Oscar's with his paycheck. But a couple of minutes later, I was out of there. That's just some cockamamie story that Max made up just to clear his own conscience.
Didn't you tell Max that Oscar Spivak was the best thing that had happened to you since high heels?
Yeah, just to get his goat. Besides, he was too busy playing footsie with Miss Airbrains to even care a thing that I said.
No further questions.
Let me see counsel at the bench, please. You may step down.
While Mrs. Nathan leaves the stand, we have time for a short break.